The Soviets called it the breakthrough tank. It weighed 46 tons and carried a 122mm gun that could blow the turret clean off a Tiger. When the IS-2 rolled onto the battlefield, German Tiger crews finally knew what fear felt like. Two of the most iconic weapons of their era. Head to head. Which one was better? The Soviets needed a tank that could kill Tigers. The IS-2, named after Joseph Stalin himself, carried the biggest gun of any WW2 tank. When Tigers met IS-2s, it was a heavyweight boxing match. Soldiers debated this question in the trenches and on the battlefield. Let us settle it. This is IS-2 versus Tiger. The IS-2 was the Soviet answer to the Tiger. Named after Joseph Stalin, it was designed to kill the heaviest German tanks. Its 122mm gun was originally a field artillery piece. The shell weighed 25 kilograms. It could destroy a Tiger with a single hit. The Tiger's 88mm was more accurate and faster to reload. It could fire 6 rounds per minute. The IS-2 could manage only 2 or 3. At range, the Tiger had the advantage. Its 88mm was more accurate and the faster reload gave the crew more chances to hit. At close range, the IS-2 was terrifying. One hit from the 122mm could crack open any German tank like an egg. The IS-2's front armor was 120mm thick, heavily sloped. Tiger shells often bounced off the glassy plate. The Tiger's side armor was only 80mm. The IS-2's 122mm could penetrate it from almost any angle. IS-2 tanks were assigned to Guards heavy tank regiments. They were elite units used for breakthrough operations. German Tiger crews respected the IS-2. They called it the first Soviet tank that could fight them on equal terms. At Berlin, IS-2s fired their 122mm guns point-blank at buildings. The blast could demolish an entire floor. The IS-2's biggest weakness was the two-piece ammunition. Loading the shell and charge separately was slow. In the end, the IS-2 achieved what it was designed to do. It gave the Soviets a heavy tank that could beat the Tiger. The IS-2 served in the Soviet Army until the 1960s. It was the foundation for all subsequent Soviet heavy tanks. The IS-2's 122mm gun could destroy any German tank, but its slow reload was a disadvantage. At close range it was devastating, at long range the Tiger had the edge. But numbers only tell part of the story. In combat, other factors mattered. Training, tactics, supply chains, and sheer luck often decided the outcome. The IS-2 gave the Soviet Union its first true answer to the Tiger. It restored confidence to Soviet tank crews and proved essential in the breakthrough battles of 1944–45. The crews who operated these machines knew their strengths and their weaknesses. In the end, both weapons earned their place in history. This was IS-2 versus Tiger. And the debate continues to this day. Military enthusiasts and historians still argue over which was superior. Both weapons represented the best engineering their nations could produce. They were born in war, tested in fire, and remembered forever. The real winner was whichever one kept its crew alive to fight another day. This was IS-2 versus Tiger, Soviet heavy tank strikes back. History is not always black and white. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today. The events described here shape the world we live in today.